Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the collective. We are here and we're just waiting for the ladies. They're maybe having some technical issues that they're getting that sorted out shortly. But hey, Sean, how's it going? How you
Hey,
doing?
buddy, how you doing? And while the ladies are gonna show up or not, you
Mhm.
and I are just still gonna hang out and chat about
So
whatever, just as we were for the last 10 minutes, by the
just
way, in the green
bang
room.
in the green
Whoa,
room.
look at
Look
that.
at that.
Guys.
How's it
How
going?
are you?
Good. How are you? I don't have a
Doing.
fancy mic. So
That's okay.
and I have like so much
I'm
stuff.
I'm I'm pretty new to fancy mics myself,
Yeah.
so you're all right.
Okay.
He just went out and got the best one
I
possible. It
I
just was.
just dialed it up a little bit, that's
Yeah,
all.
Yeah, it looks like it.
it's all good. So thanks, Julia, for coming. This is awesome. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. It's gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
I got some
Thanks.
good stuff for y'all too, so I'm
Oh yeah.
excited. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
While Chance is probably gonna be looking at, doing a little bit more technical work with the other guest who is, possibly gonna be showing up, um, I just thought I'd hit you up and let you know this. I think one of the, not the reason that this is happening right now, but a reason that this is happening right now, why we're going to get two ladies on the podcast
Yeah.
is I said to Chance yesterday well, I didn't say it to him, I said it at him during a live chat yesterday. I just said, hey, Chance Burrows, if you're listening to this, I'm going to throw the gauntlet down right now. Do you know what would be really cool for tomorrow's live chat? Let's get some ladies. We haven't had any ladies on the collective yet, you know? I mean, I've
Oh
chatted with you live, but we just I didn't want it to turn into a dude fest because
right.
I've said that right from the get-go. That has never been my intention. But that's kind of how it organically happens, you know? So it was just throwing down the gauntlet, a bit of a pattern interrupt, and rightfully so. The ladies are smarter than the guys, so I just thought we'd try to dial it up a little bit more. So
Right.
yeah, here you
Mhm.
go.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to be included. This is awesome.
Included. Forget about it. Happy to represent the ladies. You're
Mhm.
representing.
This is
First
it.
one so far. Yeah. Yeah.
This
Thank
is
you.
awesome. Well,
Um.
yeah.
Sorry.
What do you got? What are you
No,
gonna say?
I was just thinking like it's just really funny because I've been like you guys know I've never been in the forces or anything, but I've been on many deployments, and so I've always worked with men. So I'm so used to kind of being one of the dudes.
It's cool though. I mean, like you're twice as smart as the average person.
Mhm, mhm. And
Mm,
lots of experience. This is the
we've got
thing.
lines now. Maybe maybe that helps. Who knows?
Maybe
Anyway.
this is the thing though, is that when you have the experience, that's all. That's what matters. It's not about the what contract you signed or what uniform you wear. It's the fact that
Hmm.
you've lived a life. You've been
Hmm.
on deployment. You've done the stuff. Like it's all the same. It's just
Yeah.
good to have. Yeah, I'm excited. So, do you guys want to jump right into
Yes, buddy.
the thought I have for y'all? We
Sure.
can get
Bring
right
it.
into that. Okay. So, I mentioned this to Sean a little while ago. I said to him that I was I could be competitive, but I'm not really a competitor.
Mhm.
And what I wanted to ask you guys is what separates the two in your mind? When I say I can be competitive when I want to be, but I'm not a competitor. What do you think that means to you guys? Who wants to go first?
I don't mind.
By all means.
I was just giving an appropriate amount of pause 2, 3 to see if our guest would want to jump all over that, but I'll lead. It's all good. So there is an important distinction between competitive and competitor. And I think there's also a subcategorization within competitive. So I'll just talk about competitive first, and then I'll get onto the competitor aspect. So
Mhm.
competitive, you can be competitive with all those around you, and you can be competitive with yourself, either through observing yourself externally or internally. Doesn't matter what the metrics are that you're using. So you can compete against you, or you can compete against all those around you. And oh, by the way, you can do both of them simultaneously. So competitive should be considered as not just a single thing; it can be many things. And then competitor That's you in a competitive state or competitive mind or body, and now you are competing against an obstacle, an event, a group of other people, at a formal setting or at a recognized setting. We'll call it a race or what have you. And
Mm.
now you're a competitor as a competitive person. And so, you never have to be a competitor to be competitive. And I think everyone should embrace a little bit of competitive nature. So that doesn't mean that you've got to look at everyone in your neighborhood and say, I'm going to crush you all. You're all
Mhm.
going to get crushed. Because that's an unhealthy competitive mindset, unless you have to adopt that mindset occasionally to be a competitor. But when
Yeah.
you're being competitive on the daily for years and years and years, you can't go stand out on your front porch, fold your arms, and say, everyone bring it today because I'm going to crush you every day. I'm going to be the miserable guy who's always crushing everybody because I'm
Mhm.
overly competitive. So finding the right balance within yourself as a competitive person, and then finding the right balance competitive against all those around you, has to be a healthy balance in order to do it week after week after week after week. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that was really good. I think, yeah, the competitor is more just the identity, right? But competitive is in nature, how we are. Is it, and I like how you brought up competitive with others or with yourself. Because I know for me, I find that I'm much more competitive with myself and I'm not so inspired by competition with others. So I've never really been in a lot of team sports as compared to most of the sports that I've done were, gymnastics or fitness competitions, that sort of thing. And it's not like there's not other people that you're against, but I'm not really trying to crush another person. I'm just trying to beat my best from the year before. So that's my nature with competitive, and my identity as a competitor. But yeah, I think that a certain amount of competitiveness is good for us, just like a certain amount of stress is good stress, right? Makes us work, makes us move.
And I'd like to add one more thing, just for anyone who's listening, who's thinking about this at a deeper level. Uh, if you're competitive, it, your competitive element, who you are inside and who you are against the people against, in context of the people around you as a competitive nature, what you learn at the age of 6 years old is probably what you're gonna understand a whole lot differently when you're 26 years old. And so being competitive and being a competitor throughout your life will look different and will evolve as you become more aware of what a healthy level of competitiveness and a healthy level of being a competitor is. And so I'll say this: I was raised on single sports and team sports, but when I joined the military, it was still single competitiveness and team competitiveness.
Mm-hmm.
As a competitor myself against myself, being competitive, that's what raised the best out of me. I've always competed against me. And my greatest yardstick is myself. And the most accountability is Shaun. But around me, using special operations as a good example, perhaps, everyone is competitive as an individual against their previous day, but we were all very competitive within a team environment. And so you need to, if you want to draw the best out of yourself, you've got to align yourself with a group that can observe you as a competitive individual, but will also compete against you, and you'll have to compete against them in a
Mm-hmm.
healthy way that draws more out of you as an individual. And if you're in the right team or the right unit or the right organization, the right crew, um, it can get really, really competitive and sometimes too competitive. And what do you do when you're in an organization that is highly competitive as an organism, and then you step away from it, and the delta between the team that you were on or the competitive organization that you were within and this massive chasm of now you're just in recreation league volleyball on day one, bringing in that hyper competitive team and individual orientation to day one of rec volleyball. Ooh, that can be tricky. So you've got to understand your ebbs and flows throughout your life and how to calibrate properly to what's in front of you in relation to competitor and competitive.
Mm-hmm. Can't hear you.
I was listening and I completely zoned out that I did not have my thing. Anyway, you see this a lot in hockey, rec hockey, right? Especially here in Alberta, at least what I can say. A lot of kids grow up playing competitive hockey and they play to a very high level, and they get into juniors, but very small amount of people make it into AAA, and a very small amount of people make it into the minors, and very small amount of people make it to the NHL. So there's quite a high level of skill and a competitive nature being able to play up to a certain level, and then you go get a job. But you play rec hockey with a bunch of 40-year-old middle-aged dads who just kind of want to go for a skate, and there is a noticeable difference in the competitive nature of the person versus the team.
But that can be positive or negative. I mean, it's up to the dude he was almost made the NHL, and now he's playing rec hockey against 40-year-old guys who do it once a week. That guy now gets to decide whether he's toxically competitive or positively competitive. So in that role, he can be skating around the ice, looking at a guy saying, "Good work, pal. Hit me up at the end of practice so I can show you how to hold the stick in a different way. Like, don't grab it by the blade, grab it by the other end, and I'll show you how to play hockey," or whatever. You can have fun with it, or you can be an amazing coach and mentor. But you get to decide, if you're highly skilled, whether you want to be toxically known or positively known as a competitor within a competitive environment. And I mean, we all know which way it should be played. It should be played to raise everyone's game, not to sneer at everyone as you skate by like a superhero and laugh at them. I mean, there's different ways to do it, and I see it done both ways, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Julia?
Well, I'm thinking about this Kobe Bryant speech I heard the other night, and it's just reminding me of, I relate it so much to even fitness competitions and everything. So see if I can remember it properly. But I remember Kobe Bryant talking about how, it was always like he would always outwork anybody, right? So if anybody was, if they were at some kind of training camp and everyone was in the cafeteria, everyone was eating, he'd be the first one to get up. And they all knew that when he got up, he was on his way back to the gym to train. Mm-hmm. And so just how uncomfortable the rest of the team was, going, "Oh man, there he is again, like showing us up. We got to go," right? And that actually kind of helped the rest of the team because it inspired them, and so then the rest of them would come out. And that there were other guys on the team that would purposely try to get to the gym at like 4 a.m. because they wanted to beat Kobe Bryant. They wanted to get there before him. And they'd walk in and he was already there. And they're just like, this guy.
he never left. He was just working out in the dark.
He worked so hard. And then this one guy was, Kobe was there before him. So then he thought, well, that's it. I'm just going to have to stay longer. And he stayed and he kept shooting. And then finally, a few hours later, he's like, Kobe's just not going to leave. So he finally left. But he approached him and he said something to him before he left. And he's like, like, how long are you going to do this for? And he's like, I just need to, until you leave. Like, I need to show you that I'm never going to give up. Mm-hmm. So he was very competitive, but that he
I've done the same.
Yeah, I bet you have. But what I really loved was that he didn't just do that for him to show off. He did that to raise the standard of his team.
100%.
Right? So it was for the greater good. Like I love Kobe Bryant.
And it's not an individual thing. I mean, like that guy who was watching Kobe shoot hoops and looking at his watch and thinking like, man, I've been here 4.5 days and he's still not left. When's he gonna leave? So
Mhm.
it's setting a couple of standards. One is that there's levels to the game, which obviously Kobe was demonstrating in the sense of commitment or skill set, recruitment, and etc. But the other thing that's occurring, which is far more important, is the legend, the urban myth, the rumors that kind of get whispered in the corners of, I tried to outwork him, but I just couldn't outwork him. And that message that gets spread around, like, you can be sleeping now. You can have spent all of those hoop times and then gone to bed, and you could be sleeping, and the legend is still being spread around of how hard a person can work and how it can get you to spots that you couldn't imagine. And your work is now being done while you're asleep.
Yeah. It definitely it sets the standard. And the one thing that we I think a lot of us forget when we look at people like Kobe or David Goggins or insert crazy ultra marathoner, I don't know, here, right? Is that comes at a cost, right? That level of dedication costs other things, and I don't think we think about it enough. We just see like, wow, look at the dedication. Wow, look at the the strength of this guy, that he never goes home. Well, that he's never home. And
there's a cost for sure. I've faced it myself many a time, and not only have I faced it individually for myself, it comes at a cost for anyone that I've worked with sometimes if they have really massive goals, and trying to find the right balance for them within their family or their partner or their dog or whatever, their work. It's tricky. But when someone says, this is so important to me that I'm willing to make sacrifices, oh yeah, there'll be sacrifices, 100%. But those sacrifices on day one will look different 100 days later. It'll look different 1,000 days later, 10,000 days later. It's always going to look different. But you have to get right with the idea. In order to seek excellence, you'll pay the sacrifices for sure.
Yeah.
Any added thoughts on that, Julia?
Just the sacrifices, depending on how competitive you are or what your goal is that you're striving towards. It since it does come with a lot of sacrifice, you have to be willing. You have to understand that could be very lonely because of that. Because there's not a lot of people that are going to stick by you, or you're going to, or people that will talk behind your back until you've made it. Right? So it can be a very hurtful road as well. And that's how people end up getting weeded out along that journey, because they might not be willing to stick it out because of how lonely it can be.
Yeah.
100%.
But that in itself is a life lesson. I mean, if you're in the game with a competitive nature and you want to be a competitor at the world, in front of the world, at the highest levels of whatever game you're playing, you'll make sacrifices and you're going to learn a few things along the way. But what you're also going to learn is conviction, and how some people will have the conviction to execute against their idealized outcome, and some just won't. And observing that as we'll call it, weeding out process, you'll learn a lot about not just yourself, but about a lot of people who are around you in that process. So I think it's a worthy pursuit. We'll all agree it's a worthy pursuit, I'm sure. But in the process, you can't just be dogmatic or single-minded about charging ahead and I don't care what the cost is, and I don't care who falls off the ride. I'm going to be there right to the end. Don't just look at it dogmatically as a singular focus on excellence. focus on the journey while you're focusing on excellence, and you'll be able to learn a whole lot more in the real time as people drop off or as people hop on the ride. And it can be a lot richer experience than just, oh, there goes another one. Oh, there goes another one, just fell off the train. You've got to pay attention to the journey as you're looking at the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think the balance lies in that? Because that is it's a razor's edge, right? Where I'm doing what I'm doing, right? We all know people actually in a similar manner where they say, you know, I am who I am, right? That's that hardline dogmatic thing where there should be some balance in there. Do you have a particular grounding thing that you can hold back onto, like a particular person or why, or like my wife is my rock. She's my solid. I can throw ideas off of her all day long, and I can strive for all kinds of crazy ideas. And I'm like, oh, we're going to go do this, and I'm going to run my own ranch, and I'm going to go do these things, and she'll kind of like, okay, well, you know, let's think about that for a second. Versus, but she keeps me balanced, because otherwise I'd be everywhere all the time. Do you guys have anything like that? Do you have any key thoughts or mantras or people or anything that keeps you balanced in the strive for excellence, I should say?
I think that's very special what you have, first of all. I think that because of the life that I've led, it's, as a woman, I think it's kind of hard to, at least it's been hard for me to find somebody that was willing to wait at home while I traveled the world and then crushed every competition and chased every goal and everything like that. So that's been difficult to have that level of support. So that's actually very special. And if you find it, you hold on, because that's important, right? But I definitely believe in having a strong why. And that's really what's kept me going more than anything over the years. So despite, you know, whatever the sacrifices were, I feel like I have a couple whys, and I don't think that makes sense. So I'd say I really have one that's like my strong inspiration, that when I think I can't go through with something, and if my training's getting hard or whatever it is, I always think about my nephew, and I'll get into that in a second. But so he inspires me more than anyone. But now that I've started a business and I know I've always had a bit of a following from fitness competitions and modeling and all of that, but now that I have more of a purpose behind it, where I actually have a team of women that I coach and that I know I have an impact on, it's really important that I keep the standard high for myself as well. But but when it goes back to like my solid, rock solid why is my nephew. He's 9 now, but his life expectancy was 2. So he's our little miracle. And whenever I think that I can't do something and it's just because I'm tired, or I need, you know, I miss certain certain parts of my social life, and I want to go out instead of train, or certain sacrifices that have had to be made. I look at Foster and I just think, if he could walk, like if I'm thinking about whether or not I can train, and this boy's he's never walked, he's never, you know, raised his head, he can't speak, he can't do any of these amazing things that we can do. And so if I'm ever thinking I can't do something because out of laziness, or because I want to go hang out with my friends, I'm like, no, be grateful. I can run. So I'm going to run. So
that's a great why. Yeah. Shaun, you got any points on that?
Well, I think that as we just heard, there's many different ways to be inspired or to keep our motivation or focus, etc. And trying to find the right balance for every unique situation would be impossible to describe. But I'll just say this. I think it just comes down to, in simple terms, what you want for yourself, and how to balance that against everything else around you. Because, you know, someone wants to be a professional macrame world champion or whatever, and someone wants to learn how to throw a javelin, and someone wants to learn how to be a fitness model, and someone wants to learn how to be a competitive shooter, and someone wants to learn how to race a bike. All of these different things, all of these forms of excellence within a particular stream of knowledge, you can chase it to the highest levels. You may never get there, but you can chase it. But chasing it means something different to everyone. And that's contextualized against how they can balance their life. So as a single guy, if I was a single guy and young and I had my mindset on becoming a world champion macrame person, I'd do it. And I would dedicate all my life to it. I would soak it up and own it. But it's easy when you're a single person. No, I won't say it's easy. That's a misstatement. It's easier when you're a single person and the only things that you're responsible to is yourself. Once you've got a family, kids, more so, now your second position, your second priority to the first priority, which is your family. So I'll give the case example of myself when I was training for 24-hour solo mountain bike races, particularly at the world championship level. My training load was anywhere between 20 to 25 hours per week when I was going hard, and that's a lot of hours. And then I had my job of high performance coaching, but all of those came secondary to my family. Even though racing was really important to me, my family's more important. And so where did those 20 to 25 hours come from? Well, they're not going to occur at the cost of my family. So they're occurring when they're sleeping, or when they're not around, or when I get a moment to myself that is just my time. And now I'm, quote unquote, giving up my own personal life to fit in my own personal ideas of what I want to be, while at the same time trying to balance that against my hard priority, which is, you know, my family. And so it's not easy. And it's not easy for people who are doing those kind of workloads per hour, who are also crushing at an 80-hour per week job as a professional XYZ, whatever it is that they are. And so it's all extremely challenging, but it's all very doable as long as you have the right level of competitiveness within yourself or against an external target, and that you want to compete at the best version of yourself. You'll find a way to do it, but it's all a matter of prioritization.
That's a very succinct way to put it. I like it. Any, you guys, do you think we can? I think that was a pretty solid period on that discussion on competitive versus competitive, but I really like it. That the other question I had for today, more statement than anything, is it comes from a podcast I was doing earlier today. And as I was telling Shaun, this is my third podcast today. I got another one later this afternoon too. Hopefully I don't lose my voice by the end of it, but we'll see what happens. It's the first time I've ever done 4 in one day. But we were talking earlier with a friend of mine. A lot of us know what to do with failure, right? Failure is a constant in life, and it is a no.
Oh, I disagree with that, okay. But I don't. That's an entire different conversation. So I'll let you continue.
Okay. So we were talking about how failures are a part of life, and that's how you learn, is through failure. And you this doesn't work. Okay, cool. This doesn't work. Okay, cool. But the question I had for you guys is, what happens when you win? What do you do when everything that you wanted to, that you've worked for, that you strive for, happens? Then what?
You have to find what's next. Because, oh wow, so much sun coming in. I don't know if you can see anything. I think
it looks like a sparkly Disney princess filter or something.
There's no filters, guys. This is just, it's really sunny here in Calgary. You'll be disappointed when you win if you don't have something coming next, if you don't have something planned. It's in the journey. I feel it's always in the journey. So as a competitor, for me, when I reach stage, it's that big, exciting moment that I've been training for, counting down to for so long. And it can be incredibly disappointing if I put everything into that one single moment and I don't have something to strive for next. So I'm always looking for what's next, and I'm always trying to add balance to my life because of that. So I don't want the only thing that I do to be fitness competitions. So I will try to find another kind of goal for after the competition, because we're constantly need to be striving towards something. That's what gets us out of bed. That's what's exciting about the journey.
That's a great point. Shaun, you want to add anything?
Yeah, real world. Yesterday, in fact, yesterday evening, I answered this question to some degree. Someone hit me up and said, hey, Shaun, and I won't get into the particulars. I've got approximately a 48-hour ultra endurance task. It's going to be hard, and I've never done anything like this. I'm just curious if you had any thoughts on how I should approach it. And I said, well, I don't know too much about how the timeline that you've got between now and then, but I'm going to break it down into 3 simple phases so that I can break out some further points within that. 3 phases are this: preparation for the event. Phase 2 is in the event. Phase 3 is after the event. And I called, and I won't get into all the details on that. I left, I think, about 10 55-second long voice messages within the DM process, because you can't exceed 1 minute. So I gave this individual a whole bunch of kind of my coach time, if you will. And so when I was speaking about the 3rd phase of post-event, I said, hey, what you're going to have to do. And I just said it casually, like as if the entire world knows this. I said, so you're going to have to look at phase 3 after the event. What are you going to do with yourself now? Because that's going to be a moment. If you have never gone through a whole pile of intense and highly focused training for a singular event, and then once the event is done, you've never entered into that next several days of, oh, it's done, now what? And like there's a whole pile of processing in there that you've kind of got to do in order to not only get right with what just happened, because I mean, it might have gone swimmingly well, or it might have gone tragically, terribly bad. And so, I mean, it depends. So you've got to kind of move through that process in a number of different layers, but eventually you're going to get to this. Holy moly, I worked super hard for about a year, and now there's nothing in front of me for tomorrow. Now what? And so there's an entire process through that phase 3, we'll call it, of a high-level coach who can spend days and days and days talking about how to do that better. But in this voice message that I said to this guy last night was, you're going to have to get right with phase 3, where you have to consider the post-event mindset or post-event fallout. And he responded back to me with, Shaun, I've never heard of that before. And my response back to him was, hit the googs, because I don't even know if it's a word. It's just my experience over coaching high-performance athletes for 15 years on this exact situation. And I can tell you that every single one of them, myself included, when the World Championship is done, it's the next morning, and you're reaching for that can of cold baked beans to get some more calories into you. Now what? It's a thing. It's just that it isn't talked about too much on the Googs. So this is a relevant conversation that I had just, within the last 24 hours of not just losing and winning, but what comes next, whether you win or you're losing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You got anything to add on top of that, Shelley? Julia?
I get that a lot. Yeah, and just the fact that the losing, if that's what you come up against, at the end, you've trained really hard for something, and not to consider that loss as just a loss. It's always a lesson. So there's always something to be taken from that. And a lot of the time, if you have the right mindset, or you work on that, and you've got a high performance coach, helping you through this, yeah, that's better.
Oh, amazing.
My gosh. That is when, you listen to stories like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant and how they weren't chosen and they weren't picked in the first few years. And many, many amazing athletes have similar stories, and how flipping your mindset around after and having that make you hungrier and take those lessons and to get better and better for whatever the next goal is, if it's in the same kind of sport or career or whatever it is. I know I do that. I think about that. I've won when I first started training or competing. I won my first 3 shows back to back. And then, so I was like, oh, that's not that hard. When I started losing, when I became a pro and I wasn't always winning, and it humbled me, I was like, oh, damn. I got hungrier. I wanted it more, and it made me a better competitor, and it made me, it made me improve, made me get better in so many ways. So I'm thankful for the times that I lost.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a great point, Shaun.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say you got lucky in losing and then figuring it out how to do it better, and then that stoked up your competitive drive and blah blah blah, the usual stuff. I don't want to say you got lucky, but you kind of did, because it kind of worked out for you.
Yeah.
But what if it wouldn't have? I mean, let's say you lost, and there's different ways to lose. There's let's say it's called an event, but only 1/3 of the way into the event, you've lost because you break your leg backstage. And now you don't get to fully realize what woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say that, you don't even get to the event on time. You're taking a bus to the event or a taxi, and it gets in a car crash, and you're half an hour late for your event. And now you've lost before you even started. And so there's many losses that I've seen over the years as for athletes. And it depends on how legit the loss is, as a loose phrase. Because if you're in the game and you're going hard and you've done your best and you lose, most people can get right with that. But if you're a third of the way into an event, whatever it is, javelin throwing, and as you throw it, you break a finger, and now you can't continue or whatever. I don't know. Why wouldn't you be able to continue with just a broken finger? But let's pretend that you've got to stop because it's interrupting your Olympic javelin throw. So you're not realizing your full potential because of a stupid broken finger. And now how you're going to process that is way different than you looking at that finger and thinking, screw you, finger. This is going to happen, and I'm going to set an Olympic record. And then you pop out an Olympic record with your broken finger. And not only is that win awesome, it's double awesome because you've framed it in a way that you've moved through adversity plus. And so losing and winning is contextual against what your expectations are, the weirdness of the moment, and how you move through that. So you can move through weird with all of the problems and all of the handcuffs in the world that are stopping you from gaining that win. But as you forge through it and you get through the other end, whether you win or not is way less important than once you cross that finish line and think, oh, I earned that. Even if you're 33rd out of 100 people, the 33rd is like first place. But then there's first place finishes that you can get where you feel like it's the equivalent of a 33rd place finish. And so losing and winning is not always about getting the gold medal hung over your neck on top of the podium. We've all been there enough times that we know it's fun. But that's not the journey. That's not the win. The gold medal isn't the win. It's what you learn through the process, learn in the moment, how you work through all of the obstacles that you're going to face in order to get that win, and what you take away from it. That's the win. The gold medal, I don't even know where a bunch of gold medals are. Who cares? Like, I've thrown away gold medals because they just don't mean anything to me. But there's moments where I've got zero, and just the memory of that is way more than a gold medal. So winning and losing, I know they're interesting terms, but it's more what they mean to the person than what they mean to the masses who are categorizing you as a winner or a loser.
Right.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Again, I keep saying that one of the issues with Shaun having that boom on his mic is that he can't drop the mic. Like he regularly has these moments, but there's no. He just like swings it off to the side. There's no like.
I'm just trying to keep up with the company in front of me right now, but not just try to keep up. I'm trying to cooperatively move us all towards the finish line on this subject. So as I swing the mic, it's kind of like the equivalent of passing the baton onto the next relay runner.
You could just go. Your drop the mic could just be like, boom.
There you go. Yeah. give it a little smack as you go.
Yeah. Smack the mic.
I do have a question for you guys on that, not quite that topic, but on the previous topic was, is there anything that you've won or achieved that you have something from that you are really proud of? That, like, yeah, you're saying gold medals are like whatever, but are there anything that you've actually achieved where you've gotten a trinket of some sort, or I don't know, anything that either one of you have actually received that like really that you are going to hold on to, and that's going to be laid into your coffin with you later down?
I got one right there. That's all right. But I mean, it's not like I wear it around town, so it's not.
Why not? You could probably get a free coffee with that,
right?
Maybe. Yeah, I've got my sash and my crown. And I wear them when I compete. There I go again with that filter. Okay, I just have to keep shifting with the sun. But no, I wouldn't say it's not. That doesn't. The moment when I was getting crowned, I'm like crying on stage and everything. Yeah, the moment was incredibly special. But what I received is not. That's not. I mean, half the time it's a plastic trophy, right? This was the best time because it was the North American Championship. So there was a little bit more. So it's a little bit more special. So that's why it's hanging in my office, you know. But no, it's not about that really. And I really liked what Shaun was saying though about, you know, talking about, you know, if you lost your finger and just not knowing what you were capable of, because you're winning because if that person continued to go for it and won. But for me, competing for so long overseas, I still don't know what I'm truly capable of. And that kind of gets me. And that's probably why I'm still competing, is because I've never competed at this level from Canada with great gyms and great, you know, food options and supplements and all this stuff. So every show I did as a pro was always done from a different base, a different deployment. So I still don't know what I'm capable of. And that's probably why I'm still competing, is because I'm hungry to know what I'm capable of.
Yeah, you do. You know what you're capable of because you've been doing it. And if you look back over your body of work, and I heard it in your voice, you have a certain sense of pride of getting results in non-optimal conditions. And so you've contextualized yourself against someone who was perhaps back in Canada in a perfect gym with a perfect world and doing the perfect prep and having the perfect blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, you're out in the middle of nowhere, deployed, we'll say. And like, that's way harder.
Yeah.
And so you've already contextualized what it took for you to get to the start line of the event versus someone who had a optimal approach towards the event. And you already know that was a win. It doesn't matter how you placed. You already know you beat most of them, right?
I felt
I heard it in your voice. It's a certain amount of pride, and rightfully so.
Yeah, no, there definitely was. But, for instance, so the year that I won the North American Championship, that was in April 2019 in LA. And then I went back straight from LA. I went on deployment to Sudan And then the Sudan uprising happened like right when I arrived. I think I flew in after it happened, after it started already. And then yeah, things got scary and everything shut down and we were stuck inside. So I was supposed to be prepping for the next competition. So I did 2 that year. And so this one was in LA, the North American Championship. The next one was the World Championship. So I was hungry, especially after winning this. I was like, okay, we're going. We need another. And then I get back to Sudan and I'm like, okay, let's see how this is going to go. And I was normally training in a hotel there and didn't have everything that we'd have at home, but it was okay. And then the Civil War breaks out and there's tanks rolling down the street and we're stuck inside. We don't have security or anything. We're just in a apartment building downtown Khartoum, just hoping no one knows where we are. And so all we had was, whatever our emergency supply was, our rations, right? And so we just lived in our apartments for a couple weeks until we, being an air crew, thankfully had a plane and snuck to the airport and evacuated ourselves to Darfur, which is usually worse than Khartoum. But anyway, it was better at the time. So I had all of that against me and it did make me hungrier, but getting to the World Championship, knowing, a good 6 weeks of it was hardly training. I was running up and down apartment stairs with my weighted vest on, things like that. I still felt good when I got.
You earned it, and that's what you're proud of.
I am, but yeah.
It doesn't. Who cares how you placed at Worlds? I mean, honestly, no one cares.
No.
And only you care, and how you've contextualized it is you worked your butt off to try to get close to what all of those optimal athletes had at their disposal. And that double down, that extra bit of adversity, it's a world championship win in my opinion. And I think I'll say this, Chance, you'd asked what is it that we hold valuable within wins or, large events, or what was your best gold medal or whatever. I'll say 2 things. I've got a world championship. I've got a jersey downstairs in the basement in the home theater. It's been hanging on the wall for a number of years, and I barely ever look at it. I barely ever see it. I barely even notice it. It's because it's not that important to me. I'm not even sure why I kind of framed it and put it up on the wall, because it's a bit, I don't want to say ego-ish, but I don't know why I did it, but I did. Everyone would say, you got to do it. So I did it. And that's hanging on the wall. But I barely ever notice it because it's not that important to me. Okay, I won a world championship in a 24 solo. The following year, something that I think of as a way bigger win is when my seat post broke at hour 20 of a race down at World Championship in Canberra, Australia. And I had to race about another 45 minutes without a seat post in the saddle and just smash past a whole pile of people standing up. It was a freak show, but that was so hard. And at that point, I ended up placing 3rd in the race, 3rd on the podium. But if I would have won, I mean, that would have been a mic drop. But I wasn't racing for the mic drops. I was racing to challenge myself and challenge myself against everyone around me within a competitive environment. And that 3rd place finish was way better than my 1st place finish as a world champion, because all the odds were stacked against me at that point. It was brutal. And looking back on that and thinking in the moment as I looked at those 2 snap parts, oh, it's still on. And I was still in the hunt. And I was hungrier at that moment than I had been 3 seconds before. And so to me, that was that's the winning stuff that I enjoy, not standing on a podium, but standing in podium moments and owning them, whether anyone gets to see them or not. And then the other thing that comes to mind is you'd asked, what do I have in the way of trinkets? And again, I've just referenced that World Championship jersey. I don't pay attention to it. But what came to mind immediately as you asked it, because it's right here, I just finished sipping off it. This. I didn't win an event to get this. It's my coffee mug. I've got a couple of them. And that was given to me by our sons as a random sort of act of whatever, kindness or Dad, we were thinking of you. We saw it. We bought it for you on a random trip. And it was an unexpected moment. And so when I drink out of this skull mug, that's better than any world championship jersey that I've got because it's from my family. It was unexpected. And in a weird way, I've kind of earned it throughout their entire lives. So that goofy little mug means way more to me than any gold medal trinkets. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. That's kind of what I was thinking of when I came up with the question, was that some of the things that I hold the dearest are stuff I got from my boys when it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't, Christmas, or like there was no obligatory gift. It was, I saw this, it reminded me of you, I had to pick it up. Those things are usually I keep the closest to my heart because they prove the long game win. It's not the this one particular day I crushed it. It's that they think of you, they put you in such high regard that's you're winning on a daily basis kind of deal, at least in my thought.
Random acts of kindness. The last one that I got as a gift, here's the card. Here's the badge.
Oh.
I won't show you the inside of the card because it's unimportant to everyone else. It's important to me because it's just from a real good dude who I met some time ago. He digs on what I say, I dig on what he says, and he just thought highly enough of me to send me his uniform crest that he's just achieved. And I just think that's very cool. I have things that are worth a lot of money, but they mean almost nothing to me in context of something that is worth almost nothing, but is worth all the gold in the world. So, I think the things that are important to us are, it's an indication of what kind of person you are. If all the things that you're proud of are all things that you've earned in isolation of anyone else around you, then, that's one way to live life. But another way to live it is all the things that you cherish are from people that sometimes you barely know, but they thought enough of you to send you something unexpectedly nice. Those are the kind of trophies that I like.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the same. Satch just had to make this comment. Close the blinds, Julia.
I know, Satch.
Disney princess filter.
Right? It's such a. It's really
I don't
great.
think it's
Gives you
I don't
really
think
nice
it's the
glow.
sun. I think there's something going on with that phone filter.
Maybe.
On the laptop, there's no filter.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, as Shaun's talking, and then Chance about. I've got things going through my mind. I'm like, the things that matter most to me, and are the same things. It's they come from people. So a lot of them are certain things from my nephews. Like I have a letter that I got this Christmas from my oldest nephew. He's 10, and it's so sweet, and it's on my fridge, and I look at it every day, and I just love it. He talks about how cool it's been, like, I don't know, having me as his aunt and learning about Africa and jumping out of planes. And he drew a picture of me jumping out of a plane. It's the sweetest thing ever. And then other things that have made me tear up or been so special to me are, as Shaun shared that badge, that crest, because of Afghanistan, time in Afghanistan. I'm sure you guys had the same thing. Passengers or friends that would meet there. I felt like I was kind of at camp in a way sometimes, because we would trade. Either we'd trade those bracelets or we'd trade patches. And I have a ridiculous amount of patches from friends that I made at camp, is what it felt like. And it was amazing. And coins as well. I'd get coined every once in a while. And the last time I got coined actually was not in Afghanistan. It was here a few months ago, from a firefighter in Canmore. And and it was because of speaking about, PTSD and mental health and being vulnerable and everything. And he'd been watching, and he's a friend from high school. And we met up at Costco one day. And before we went in, I just thought we were going shopping. And in the car, he's like, I wanted to give you something first. And I just lost it. I was bawling.
Lost it in the Eggo waffle aisle of Costco.
It was before that. But it was, and it's a coin, but it was what it meant. It was why he gave it to me. And I just, it's so special. So it's in my wallet. So it's with me all the time. So it's those badges from Afghanistan, from friends, bracelets, and coins.
Yeah.
So Chance, is there something in particular that you can bring to mind that is like your favorite trinket or your favorite little gold cup from grade 6 or whatever it is that, that is special to you?
Yeah, I have a wooden guitar pick that and it's this big, and it's engraved, and it says, "We pick you, Dad."
Oh, that's so cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
dude, you just won.
Yeah, you did. That's the mic drop.
As a competitive person, having this discussion within a competitive environment, I wanted to compete against you, and you just beat me. God.
Without even trying. Look at that.
Dude, it sucks. I'm going to take a guitar.
There you go. That's all you need. You know what? I'll send you your first pick. There you go. Have a good time. So we've been rolling for just about an hour now. Do either of you guys have a final thought on competition, winning, losing, trinkets, anything burning in the back of your brain that you want to get out to the world? As he pushes this mic farther away.
I think this is what I'm going to have to do in further sessions of the live chats. Is I'm going to have to figure out a routine so people know I'm not always going to hog the mic.
Nope. I like it. Julie, you got any final thoughts before we shut her down?
I don't know. It's been an interesting conversation. What to say? I don't know. Just thinking about where we're going next. Like does anybody want to share, what their next, do they have any goals that they're striving towards next? Because we talked about with winning and losing, how it's always good to have something you're working towards, right?
That's a very good question, Shaun. You got anything you're working towards?
Yeah, crushing the internet.
I can tell.
Yeah, this is the plan for the collective right now. Is we're going to crush the internet. We're going to defeat the algorithm.
Right.
Yeah, however it goes. But yeah,
or the power of good. Power
of good. I like it. I feel like Captain Planet, right? You know how he always finished with what was the last ring? Heart. So he's like, yeah, that's an element.
That's Chance Burles' video nerd coming out in him. The comic book store, goodness.
80s cartoons, man. Those were the pinnacle of kids' cartoons. You guys telling me you never watched Captain Planet? Seriously?
Oh, no, man. I was raised on Batfink, man. Do you know Batfink?
Yeah, I know Batfink.
All right, that's what I was raised on as a kid.
Yeah.
I like He-Man and She-Ra.
He-Man and She-Ra.
Yeah.
I like it.
I wanted to be
great. She-Ra's badass. She really is, yeah.
You're kind of pulling it off. I don't even know who she is, but I'd say you're kind of pulling it off, whoever she is.
Yeah. You got a sword yet? You got a sword of power?
I do not. No. Oh. I guess I'm gonna need to go for a sword. Some competitions have swords as the prize, so maybe
there
that's what.
And if you're into swords, check out the live chat that I just dropped this morning with Yuri Bonder. I'm just saying. I'm just pimping.
Yeah.
just throwing it in there. All right. Well, then I think we'll shut it down for the night. I think this has been a great conversation. But first and foremost, Julia, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. The reason Jana did not join us was the fact that I did not state clearly that we were on MST, or I was on MST. So the timing I gave her, she thought it was PST. So she was actually in jiu-jitsu throughout this conversation, and but we're gonna get her on a further one.
Yes, we are. In fact, we're going to get both of you on as we had,
Mhm.
as Chance Burles had anticipated. And now that we know what the issue was, Burles,
Right.
we're going to do it again.
I'll fix it. I'll fix it for next time. Don't worry. We'll get it good to go.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. And more importantly, thanks for representing. And I'm not just saying representing the ladies, but I want to put everyone on full blast that this is going to become a more regular thing. This isn't going to be a bro hangout. It's going to be a cool hangout. And in order for it to be cool, it needs the girl power, which you brought, and I dig it. So thanks for showing up.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, this is what we strive for, so that we can all together, not just the dudes, not just the ladies, but everyone can be together to learn, build, and grow together as a collective, almost. One would think. If you haven't already and you're listening right now, please make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, the little bell friggin' notification thingy, and yeah, make sure that for tomorrow's episode, you're following and you're online. It's going to be great. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Chimo.